Hello, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be meeting a friend of mine. His name is Joe. He's a friend of mine. I met him just a few months ago, and he has a really powerful story to share with you today. We met here downtown. We're at a place called Bethel Guest House, downtown Dumaguete, and really beautiful area. Let me show you a little bit of the scenery around here. Okay, got the beautiful ocean right behind us. And in the background over there it's Sigiho Island. And down here to the left we have Dumaguete Boulevard, where a lot of foreigners come, a lot of restaurants down here. People like just to stroll along the boulevard here. Beautiful place. And in the background you can see a little island. That's actually Cebu Island, so really, really beautiful place. Anyways, so I hope you enjoy today's interview. I do appreciate you watching, and I encourage you to watch this story until the end. It's very powerful, and I think you'll enjoy this. So thanks again, guys. Enjoy. Joe, let's just get into it. Let's talk about, well, the Philippines. First of all, what drove you to the Philippines? What made you want to come here? And you've been several times, you've been back and forth. So just share us from the beginning why you came here, why you've been back and forth, and what your fascination or love for the Philippines is all about.
Okay, well, back in 2008, I had a heartbreaking breakup with an American woman, okay. and started thinking about what was important to me, what I was looking for in a woman, and actually had wrote it down, made a list of the attributes that were important to me, or what I thought were important. And when I got to the bottom of the list, it looked a lot like a Filipina woman. And went on a dating site. Cherry Blossom was the name of the, and I met a woman in Mindanao, and she very lovely woman, and I booked a flight, came over to the Philippines. I didn't tell a soul that I was
wow, really?
that I was
no one
that I was coming to the Philippines, and much less Mindanao.
Yeah.
And and I'd already saw some reports from the U.S. to avoid certain areas of Mindanao.
Sure, yeah.
And she assured me that she wouldn't bring me into the lion's den. And I went and met Marichu, and I found out she was a wonderful lady.
Okay.
In my opinion, definitely wife material type woman.
Right.
And I was with her a day or two, and decided, wow, this was so easy. I could probably do better. and like that, just spent the 2 or 3 weeks there, knowing that we weren't going to be together.
Right. And
we're still friends after 13, 14 years. And now, I understand, she would have been a great wife.
Well, I mean, you said something about, you said you felt like you could have done better. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
Well, it's physically, she, her English wasn't as great as I thought it was. When we spoke online back in 2009, she would sing American songs word for word, and I was like, wow, she's great. She knows. And when I got here, it was like, I don't even know if she knows what she's saying, but she could sing. And but really, it wasn't about Marichu. What it was about was I had a a thirst that no one woman could quench. And it started, I think it started out with a porn addiction in the U.S. and then when I came here, it was like that I could I would just use the women, and they were beautiful model, gorgeous women,
Right.
and I would use them to for my gratification, and
For
then
your fantasies
and then
and-
1 or 2 or 3 weeks later go back to the U.S. and regret. I'd have regret that I squandered the opportunity to meet a wholesome woman, and I have many times met wholesome women that what they were looking for was love and marriage and the fairy tale, and I was looking for sexual gratification.
Yeah. But back then, where were you spiritually at that time?
I was born and raised Catholic, taught to fear, fear God, and always have believed in God, and have never had a personal relationship. When I hear people talk about it, I couldn't even, conceive it. Couldn't even imagine what that would look like, and barely can today. To have my relationship with God be a personal thing, I have a hard time grasping that. So what it was like then, and then wasn't very long ago. I was baptized August 6th of this year, first time since, being baptized
Right.
as a baby in the Catholic Church.
Right.
So,
And I want to talk about that change in a minute, really your testimony, what really changed you to the point where you wanted to get baptized and have a personal relationship with Jesus. But let's go back. I just want to emphasize this problem that so many have, that you've had, that I've had, that struggle with, the porn addictions. And then you come to the Philippines, and your first time here especially, you start realizing, wow, there's beautiful young model-like women that are interested in me. And those of us that have already had this kind of porn addiction or sexual addiction, and now we can live out the fantasies for real, and it's easy to do it. And I think there's so many people, and I think there's people that will be watching this that are going to relate to the struggles you've had and I've had with pornography and sexual addictions. My story. I had a terrible spell of addiction for years. I was just caught up in a life out here where I just I lost myself, and I didn't have any. I was a Christian, but I had walked away from the faith. Basically, I'd never dedicated my life to Jesus, so I was kind of, I didn't even like to admit to being a Christian, because I was like embarrassed the way I lived my life. But I was so far gone from God at that point. But the addiction just, it eats you up. It's destructive. You felt that, right? You said you had regret. You would go back to the USA and you'd feel, what made you have regret?
the regret didn't even take, as long to get back to the U.S. The regret happened
Immediately.
immediately.
But what was it? Was your conscience? Were you feeling I shouldn't be doing this? Did you feel convicted? Was something convicting you?
I was exploiting, someone's desperation here, or the young women that I were involved with. They were searching for something real, and 99 out of 100 times they were searching for something real.
Right.
And I would, let them think that there was that opportunity. And maybe even in my heart, I thought there might be. But, I had a wandering eye, after, a day or a week or a month, I was no longer satisfied with that, and thought I can do better.
Yeah.
I can do better. I can do better. And and all these years later, I see so many of the women that I've encountered here in the Philippines and in the U.S. That if I had only been, true to myself, true to them, true to God, that I had the opportunity to have a great relationship, which don't trust myself to go into a relationship right now where I'm more that I would be more interested in the inner beauty than what she looks like physically.
Right, that's extremely important. How was your? I mean, you when you first came to the Philippines, you said you didn't tell anybody you were coming here. At some point, I guess you shared with your family you were spending time in the Philippines. Did they anybody close to you in America or wherever ever get to really know what you were doing out here? And did you get any backlash from that, or anybody give you a hard time?
I remember the first time they shared with me they thought that I was taking advantage of someone, and then after the many times that I came back, most the time, no, we never talked about it. The last couple years, and especially this time being here for months and months, my son, who is born again Christian, shared, both he and his wife have shared with me that they didn't appreciate me coming over here, and that that my heart was full of lust, and that they didn't support that. They're loving to me. They're loving and but they didn't mince words about it.
And then you have other children.
I have 2 daughters. Yeah.
Right.
I shared with my oldest daughter today that I was giving my testimony, and let her know I was scared. And she wanted to know why, and I was like, well, I'm going to be sharing about my porn addiction and sharing about using and exploiting women, and and then and I'm scared about that, and then I'm scared that if the fear wins, then whatever I share is hollow and shallow and isn't real. So as you had said yesterday, if one person hears this and it makes a difference in their life, then that's really what this is about.
Absolutely. We all have our personal struggles in life. Everyone, not necessarily all the same struggles, but we all have personal struggles, and it's just such a common thing. This lustful desires, sexual addiction. It's so common with men, especially out here. I mean, you're not alone. But here's the important thing: is you're sitting here today, you're exposing yourself a little bit, for the bad things you've done, because you've changed. You don't want that life. You don't want to be that way. You recognize that's not the right way to live, and you've made a decision to change. And your goal and hope and for the reason for doing this video is you want other people that suffer with these addictions and problems to look at their lives and think, am I having the same regrets? Am I doing what Joe was doing? And am I feeling guilty or convicted about what I'm doing? And it's a lot of people that really want to change and they don't know how, and they don't know how to give up. Would you agree that's the hard thing when you have an addiction like you've had, I've had? Turning away from it and saying, I'm not going to do it anymore, it's not easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm, recovering alcoholic, recovering drug addict, struggled with smoking cigarettes for, it's been 25 years since I've smoked cigarettes, but, so I have lots of addictions that I've overcame or I'm overcoming. And today this reminds me of the first time, I stood and said, I'm an alcoholic, and that was hard to admit, and it got easier, and my daughter asked me, and this morning she's like, and if it doesn't kill you, what's next? Of me sharing, and I said, what's next is to share it again, and hopefully it gets easier to admit that I have these struggles in life, and it continues to be a struggle. It was last night I was the closest that I can think of the Holy Spirit working in my life. Wow. That it was like I went home and was contemplating watching porn, and I turned on a Christian video about overcoming that, and just was filled with this relief of that there's a way, and I didn't mention I'm also recovering compulsive gambler, and
you've been through all the addictions,
and I I remember going down to a casino with $1 that I had left. My wife had left me, and I was looking for a nickel machine that at least I'd have 20 pools, my last dollar, and so went to a Gamblers Anonymous meeting, and remember having a similar feeling that it was like, oh, I could go one day without gambling, or 2 days without gambling, and then it was weeks and months and years, and so that's how I felt last night. Was like there was this glimmer of hope that that there's another way, and I can't do it by myself.
No, you can't. Joe, you've overcome a lot in your life, and let's get to your testimony. Let's share with people what made you decide to give your heart to Jesus, to change your life, and put all that stuff behind you, and say, I'm not going to do that anymore. What? And this is a recent decision, right? That where you really made this full commitment. Let's share it from. I just want to hear what made you want to do this? What made you want to change your life? And tell us how it was when you did, and how your life has been since.
Well, I'm a registered nurse and worked for the VA as a travel nurse, and I retired this past December 2022 with the intention of moving to the Philippines in March. Okay. And so life as I knew it changed in when I quit working.
Sure.
And knew, I need to create a life worth living. And the people that I love the most, one of them being my son and his daughter and their children, living a life to serve God. And I saw there was a wall that was between us, and their house was open to me, their doors were open, and I could go spend time with them whenever I wanted. But I saw the way they were living life was a life worth living, and talked to him about it, and he even offered to baptize me, and but that I was going to have to turn away from sin.
Yeah.
And I was all in, except for turning away from the sin. I was sorry for the sin. Sorry about that. I was sorry for sin, and I felt guilt, remorse, until the urges were there again, and didn't have any kind of tools to overcome, or seemed that way.
Yes.
And so between December and March, I was watching a lot of the bloggers here in Dumaguete, and came to your channel, and
for that.
and I thought, as I felt with my son and his wife, what a courageous life that they live, and I thought, wow, that's courageous to put for Gary to put himself out there as an American Christian in the Philippines, and turn the camera on himself, and so I watched your videos, and I came over and visited the Philippines for 3 weeks, and watched your Bible study from a distance, and never been to a Bible study before, and so when I got here, I was like, okay, well, I need to create habits that will sustain me for the rest of my life, and be a life worth living. And started going to Bible study. Didn't share that I wasn't born again. I felt hypocritical even being in the meetings, and there's so much wisdom with guys like yourself and the other men that have years and years of
some good people,
of walking with Christ, and started going back to AA, started so it wasn't like I was doing anything, but God was chipping away at me a little bit, putting people in my sphere of influence that it became easier and easier to do the right thing, or the right things, and and at the end of the day, I was left to my own accord, and struggled, and it made me even feel even more hypocritical to be rubbing shoulders with the godly men and women, and still falling to my addictions. And so at one of the Bible meetings, Bible study groups, Pastor Andrew and Bill had shared that they were going to have a baptism at his house. This was, I believe, August 6th of this year.
Yeah.
And I decided I was going to be baptized and to turn my back on sin, and didn't know how I would do it, or and it's been hard. It's been hard. Like I said, it was yesterday was the first day I felt like the Holy Spirit had helped me in a way that I couldn't help myself.
Right. That's awesome. It really is. And you know what? We're always going to have struggles. They're never going to completely go away. But we know we have the Holy Spirit within us. And we can have the power and the strength to turn away from the sin. So when we get those urges, because we will get them now and then, just finding those mechanisms like you did last night to be able to direct your focus back to God and not to the sin.
Yeah.
That's something that will, I think, as we grow as Christians, and I'm still growing too. I'm really only 4 years since I made that decision to fully commit my heart to Jesus, and I've got a lot of growth to go still. You never stop. You never stop growing and learning, and but hopefully each day we will improve and we'll get closer to God, and it'll be easier to turn away from the temptations that are constantly in our face. How do you feel now that you have given your heart? Do you feel at peace? Do you feel like your life has purpose now?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I want to run the show, and it takes strength to let go and let God, and I don't know myself as someone that's capable of doing that over and over and over again. So part of it I feel hypocritical. I feel like I'm just a sinner.
Well, we all are.
Yeah, and so I'm just blessed. I'm really blessed to have the people that I rub shoulders with here in the Philippines. Pastor Andrew had told me that, and I don't know if he told me, but I'd heard him say that the expats in Dumaguete 10 years ago weren't a group of people that he would want to associate with.
I've heard him say that. Yeah.
And so for me to be around guys that most of the men that I hang out with go to the Bible study, they go to AA. Three of the guys I play pickleball with are in AA and go to the meetings with me. So it's like God has put great men around me that it's never been that way all the other times. Maybe 10 times I've been in the Philippines. I could count on one hand how many conversations I probably had with expats.
Right.
And
fellowship's important. We need each other.
Yeah.
Need to have these conversations. So happy you found that. And,
one of the things I heard last night when I was watching the video was, we confess to God for forgiveness, and we confess to man for healing. And so that's been my experience when I've confessed in some of the 12-step programs I've been in. It's about healing, and that's what has me do it today, is to heal this injury.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, thanks so much for sharing your story with us. I mean, it is powerful. But before we finish up, you've got family coming out to visit you. When are they coming?
In 5 days.
5 days. And your daughter,
Two sisters.
both
Two
coming
sisters.
out.
Two sisters.
Two sisters.
Yeah.
And one was an atheist, and one's a Catholic. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, I'd love to meet both of them. Hopefully, we will. And maybe your atheist sister, maybe she'll be willing and open-minded to even talk about the possibility of God existing.
Yeah, I don't know if she's a self-proclaimed atheist, so
Okay.
I might have spoke out of turn when I said that, but
Right.
but yeah, I'm hoping that there's an opportunity.
Right. Well, we'll be praying for your sister's safe travel here, and that when they come, that you have a wonderful time and connect in a really special way with them. That'll be wonderful.
Thank you.
So
Appreciate it.
thanks so much again. Thanks for coming onto my channel. It takes a lot of guts for someone to sit down there and admit to so many faults and addictions, and to admit to changing their life and giving their heart to Jesus. It takes a lot to do that. So thank you for being brave.
Thanks for the opportunity.
All right. So
Appreciate you.
Thank you guys, and thanks for watching. And for all those that are struggling with sin, whatever addiction it may be, you know what? I just encourage you to pray. Ask God to change you. Sometimes it just starts right with the desire and the will to ask God to change your life, to make you a new person. So if you do have a desire to change your life, I encourage you to pray, and God will answer those prayers. He always does. So thanks so much again. Thank you for watching, and see you on my next video. God bless
God bless.
everybody.